Hello, fellow warriors against consensus reality. Lovers of truth, wisdom, the esoteric path. Lovers of irreverence and sarcasm. Slayers of two-faced, hypocritical, backstabbing gobshites. Oh, fuck people. Humorous. Amusing. I kind of remind myself how much so when I have any kind of dealings with people online or otherwise. And then it amuses me, and then in the same breath it makes me glad that I'm a hermit and a lone wolf. In this day when people don't really get excited about your success anymore, where people aren't really happy for your good fortune anymore, and people taint their words and actions with deep-seated, seething jealousy and self-induced insecurities. You're living You're living in a world where someone gets invited to a friend's dinner party and they then get charged money for the meal. Or in my case, in my own personal experience, I was once invited. It was my one and only time where I was invited to an Australian barbecue. I was invited to an Australian barbecue once, and I was asked to bring my own meat. As a Helene, I found that incredibly offensive, and that's just the biggest insult you could perpetrate on anybody, and it just reminded me in that instant that I really do not belong in this convict settlement at all. I actually thought they were joking. I asked, "You're serious?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Is that how you people do things here?" I go, "Because where I come from, that's just the biggest insult." And of course, I mean, he was an Anglo, so he didn't know any better, which is why I didn't take a swing at him at the time. And again, in a Twitter chat group, which I'm part of, I had fun. Having a little bit of an exchange. I woke up and not long ago, and I found a whole wall of messages. They were talking about American politics, whatever. I don't give a fuck, right? And then I sort of, me being me, shared my Socratic perspective, philosophically, and not only philosophically, but because that's actually my real first name. And me being me, I sort of questioned a few things and provided some cultural perspective. And one of them, he was he would have been an early 20s American male. Now, any of you who have had dealings with such people in the past, they're like young Australian women. They're some of the most mouthy, clueless groups of people in the Western world. It's incredible. No perspective about anything else other than their own little mainstream media propaganda machine fueled world. It's incredible. And I provided a little bit of an example, and I can tell he got butthurt by trying to flip flop and twist things around. I was asking the question, alright, let me provide an example of cultural perspective for you. When I mention the Civil War, what's the first thing you think about? North versus South, right? What's the first thing I think about? Athens versus Sparta, 5th and 4th centuries BCE. Oh, I know. Odin's movie reviews, I'm using BCE and CE instead of AD. Oh no, are you going to get your little fucking group of online gobshites to be butthurt about it again? Even though you're supposed to be a devout Roman Catholic using the name Odin. And Asgard and Valkyries, right? Which one is it? Are you going to keep stealing from paganism, or are you going to be a good little Pope cocksucking Roman Catholic? You can't be both. Okay? Yeah, I know, it's that kind of video today. Well, it always is lately, but, you know. And of course, he didn't really like that very much, and he sort of tried to give which I found, as a Hellene, I found that incredibly amusing. Try to give me a foreigner's perspective of our ancient Hellenic polis system. Because the English word used for polis, city-state, doesn't really cut it. It's not really correct. There is no English word for this concept. Because we invented this concept. And the concept of politics, polis. Cue Uncle Buck. Oh, is there a similarity there? I think there is, right? You're welcome, by the way. On behalf of my ancestors, you're welcome. And he's trying to mention Germans and Prussians or whatever. I said, look, I'm not going to go into a rambling exegesis. Yes, I use my own language about what the ancient polis is and the ins and outs of it. I just couldn't be bothered. Unless I'm getting paid to do it, I won't do it. And the knockout punch was when I said, okay, cultural perspective, here's a little one for you, closer to your home. Someone who happens to be Lakota would have a much different perspective of Wounded Knee than, say, a typical Yank. Right? And no response. Oh, fuck, that shit is funny. Because people have no fucking idea. That's my point. People's thoughts, opinions, and feelings are increasingly crafted and shaped by the information they take in from the mainstream media around them. And you know what? That's actually really fucking scary. Because the powers that be knowingly use these platforms of information dissemination. Look at me using my words, right? Yeah, no response. Now, the powers that be, who we've already established don't have our highest good at heart, right? As normal working people with families and blah, 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 they don't give a fuck about us. We've established that. Look around. And so they've come up with an idea of making us clueless, passive, obedient, consuming little gobshites by taking away and affecting as much as they can, and it's scary how much these days, our sources of information. See, in the old days, there was a wonderful thing called a library, where it wasn't like Wikipedia where anyone could go in and alter anything. Once a book was published, there was information, no one can change it. Right? Which is why I fucking love books, and I have a whole personal library of actual books. Right? Quite ironic how the book I picked up happened to be Plato's Republic. Oh, I love that shit. You're welcome for the gift of philosophy, by the way. You're welcome. But the fact that the source of information is knowingly perverted and altered and changed in a way that people are not getting the full picture. People are not getting all the information they need to make an informed decision or to craft an informed opinion about something. And that's fucking scary because people aren't getting all the information. And the one thing we need now more than ever is truth, information. And we're not getting it. Just look at the study of history, for example. Wow. These group of gobshites knowingly got together and altered the teaching of history during the last, at least since the early 1900s. History has not been the same. It's been fallen under the wicked influence of these fucking perverted gobshites. Which perverted gobshites? Well, it goes deep, and I won't get into a whole thing here. It will take hours and hours. I just will say it all sprang from the group of Anglo British Empire focused gobshites, which included Cecil Rhodes and, yes, that Rhodes, and Lord Alfred Milner and co. And of course Lord Nathaniel Rothschild and all these other group of cronies who decided to sort of change the world to what they saw fit, and changed. And of course that included people who controlled university and university level education curriculums, all this kind of stuff were changed, because you'll notice if you look at any kind of book on, say, a certain topic of history, the older the book is, the different the information is, the more information you'll get. Whereas these days, you won't get it. Even this copy of Plato's Republic, the language is different, the words are different, the narrative used is different. So, if you will, this, to me, I mean, I'm probably going to chuck it out, it appears to be more a woke version of Plato. Right? And I mean, hell, even in the study of religion, church history, Christianity, unless you can actually read the New Testament in the original Hellenic language, you're fucked, right? Some of us are actually lucky enough to be able to do so, which is why when we take the piss out of these gobshites, we know what we're talking about, because we've been there and done that. I mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. I was almost 19, I was this close to joining the Greek Orthodox priesthood. And through my interesting religious journey, I was even Seventh-day Adventist at one point, and as hardcore Bible fucker as you can get. So, been there, done that, thanks. I mean, hell, when I took the piss out of, when those silly Twilight books first came out, I took the piss out of them because I actually forced myself to read all 4 of them. Yeah, I know, but I did. Because if I was going to comment on something, you better believe I need to be have read the fucking thing to begin with. Which is why I get butthurt about these fake Tolkien fans. The ones that got on the bandwagon with this black dwarves and elves woke Middle-earth bullshit that Amazon's going to spew forth. They have no idea. They're not fans, and they have no fucking idea. And so, perspective. While, I mean, there are too many people too caught up in what's Russia and Ukraine doing. And then, of course, when I mentioned in this exchange where I live, oh, as an Australian, blah, 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 I'll stop you right there. Nobody said I'm Australian. I'm not Australian. I happen to currently live here. I'm not from here. I don't wave the flag from here. Well, I mean, to be brutally honest, I don't really wave any flag, but hey. Because nationalism is just another tool of the propaganda machine to get people focused on one small aspect of a greater reality. But anyway. But I'm as proudly Hellenic as you can get. And not the my big fat Greek wedding variety either. I mean the actual Hellene variety, not the what I call the Ottoman Greek variety. Good little Greek boy, goes to church every Sunday, Greek church of course. There is no other option, right? Marries a Greek girl, has Greek babies, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I've known too many of these people in my life, and they haven't changed, they haven't grown, they haven't experienced or explored anything new. They're just stuck in their little fucking bubbles for the rest of their fucking life. And I'm thinking, are these my people? No, they're really not. Then I log into Assassin's Creed Odyssey and I'm thinking, there's my people. So you can imagine how often I played that game, right? It is fun killing Athenians, I have to admit. But it's just, wake up, people, open your eyes. You're being used, you're being lied to. The opinion that you have about something, well, you need to question everything. This is why we say, rule number 1, question everything. Which is why my ancient namesake said, Quote, the only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing. Unquote. Right? Because when your opinion has been shaped by the above mentioned mainstream media propaganda machine, knowingly leaving out important information which thereby enable you to fully craft your more well-informed opinion, they purposely leave important information out. Therefore, you're developing a skewed opinion, which is then fucking up yourself and your soul, your mind, all the levels of your consciousness, and turning you into this opinionated, angry, misinformed, misanthropic, bar humbug spewing gobshite. Let me give you an example. How many people have you seen with their little Ukrainian flag, I support Ukraine, freedom? How many people do you see with a Yemeni flag? None, right? Even though they're the ones that have copped it longer and more severely, more brutally than any Ukrainian in their worst nightmare. It's still going on right now in Yemen. Who actually gives a fuck? Where's the freedom and the support and whatever for the people of Yemen? There is none. You see what I mean? There is none. How many of you have actually stopped and said, hang on a minute, this goes way beyond one country so-called apparently entering another country. They're actually economically wiping a certain country and all its millions of people off the face of the earth. Because they did something, because a certain country did something that the evil, malevolent, global gobshites, we'll call them. I don't really like to use the word New World Order, it just doesn't cover it well enough. Global gobshites, I think, will suffice. Because this certain country is not obeying the dictates of the global gobshites. So let's wipe them off the face of, economically, off the face of the earth. Including and especially the millions and millions of people who are now going to be fucking screwed by NATO and all their other malevolent global gobshite cronies. See what I mean? There's more. Here's a rule of thumb for you before I go and I enjoy a cafe session. If the mainstream media propaganda machine is constantly spewing one narrative, i.e. the above mentioned Ukrainian situation, then you immediately need to ask, okay, what are they not telling us? And there lies the real truth. Because the truth is never as a mainstream propaganda machine tells you. That's a given. So when you meet someone who goes on and on about, I support Ukrainian freedom and la la la, you need to ask them, do you support the people of Yemen as well? What about them? Oh, that's right. The Bush family and the Clintons and all these other fucking privileged assholes are too busy having backdoor deals with the Saudi royal families. Right, I forgot. Oh, we can't do anything against Saudi Arabia. No, right? Even though they're some of the most brutal, sadistic assholes in the Muslim world. But anyway, it's kind of funny. Try talking to some Muslims from various parts of the Middle East. Ask them about this kind of stuff. Get their perspective on it. You'll be astounded by their responses most of the time. But there it is. Perspective. Always question everything, and even your most closely held opinions about stuff. Question everything. It is a rule of life. Let me take the piss out of Aleister Crowley, shall I? Don't get me started on that gobshite. Fuck it hell. Question everything shall be the rule of life. Oh, the great beast indeed. Fucking asshole. Don't get me started. God. Yes, that's sort of like take sequestered copies of the Hellenic Gnostic writings and sort of pretend that they're our our new revelation from the sources. Oh, fuck off, cunt. It's kind of funny talking to witchy people, especially those who think that they want to be all edgy and gothic, right? Because they're the ones too busy wanking over Aleister Crowley. Until you actually do your own research about the ins and outs, and yeah, he's not exactly what you think he is. He's the biggest plagiarist in the Western esoteric tradition. It's incredible. Oh, and as some of my British mates would say, he's a right royal mouthy puff. Oh, on that note, yeah, as always, especially in this day and age, in this 2022, to speak the truth is a very lonely fucking path. The amused, sarcastic, heathen hammer-wielding, ancient Hellenic spirited lone wolf on guitar, 8